Welcome to Bill and Rob's An Excellent Adventure. I'm Bill Tilley.
And I am Rob Schulte, escaping reality with another podcast with you, Bill.
Yes, we've mysteriously found some spacesuits to put on, and we've shot ourselves into the podcast world of movie reviews one more time.
Spacesuits? I couldn't even find the spaceship, but I'm glad it exists, you know?
Rob, did you ever make spaceships out of cardboard boxes when you were a kid?
You know, I think I did, but here's one memory. This is something that came back to me fairly recently. There was an empty fish tank in the basement. Clean. There was no like dead fish or dried water on it or anything. And I remember going, I am going to build like an undersea futuristic thing in here. And I ended up just drawing them on paper and taping them to the back of the fish tank. And I remember going, this does not match my imagination as well as I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I can relate. It never does. I once tried to dig a cave in the backyard because I wanted to live like Batman. And I've got news for you. The Bugs Bunny way of doing caving is just not feasible in the real world. It just isn't.
And then when you hit that gas line, man, boy, do parents get upset.
Well, I was a kid that easily quit, so I only dug down about 3 or 4 inches before my dad came out and was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm digging a cave." And he just kind of went, "Uh-huh." And now I know what that uh-huh meant that I've gotten older. So lesson learned.
Mm-hmm. I also know that uh-huh. You know, speaking of like parental phrases, my mother visited recently and love my mom. She's great. But it was like her last night in town. She was staying in our guest room and she was doing something on her phone and needed my attention. You know, I was in the other side of the house, not that far away, but like a distance. She couldn't whisper to me, couldn't use an indoor voice really. And she could have texted me because she was on her phone. But instead she went, "Robert." And I was like,
I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it really, and it sat with me for a little bit. I was like, oh my God, my whole freaking name.
Well, was it your whole first name? Does she give you the entire name? Is that how you really knew?
I never got the middle name addition, like "you're in trouble." Oh. It just never happened. But like, I went by Rob for so long that ERT might as well have been the middle name when I was in trouble.
Well, I'm a junior, so I got 4 parts to that.
Oh.
Yeah, that was rough. But I can relate to your texting because just before we hopped on here, my wife texted me from the other room, which is about 10 feet away, to ask me something. And all of a sudden, I became the person I've always been my entire life. And I went, "I refuse to text you from that far away. You're that close." So she would text me, but I would answer her verbally. So we had this weird one-sided verbal conversation going on for about 2 minutes.
Hey, maybe she thought you were already recording. Maybe that's what
she does respect the record. I got to give her all the credit for that.
Gotta respect the recording.
Yeah, but she just likes to do that. I think she knows it gets a rise out of me. So she's not above that, and I respect her for it.
Don't we all? May I break pod for a moment? Like, we're currently recording Bill and Rob's, but it's a big week for podcasts that I'm a part of in general. And although we are behind the Patreon paywall, I feel it's necessary that I bring up that at the time of this recording, we just got the first episode of season 10 of Vanderpump Rules. Ooh. And it has been terrific. It was great. I loved it.
I'm jealous because you got me into this world, and sadly, because of all the stuff that went on, I've fallen a season behind. So you're in the playground and I'm not up to speed, and it's actually kind of making me itchy because I listened to your last episode of VPR and I'm like, well, he's talking to Sheena and this sounds really good. So yeah, I guess I got some watching to do.
Well, I'll tell you, Bill, what's going to be even more, I think, more rewarding for you is that you'll get this most previous season, season 9, which was the like, we're out of COVID lockdown season. So they're still like figuring out how to film and do all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I'm really excited to get your texts about season 9. so that I can just relive that vicariously through you. And then I'll be watching season 10 going, the fool. He has no idea.
Well, this is fun for us because, the people that listen to us as we're going along, this is my version of that. I get to send stuff to you and you get to respond to it.
Yeah.
And that's what got this whole thing started. But that show is insane. And please, everybody, if you're not following Vanderpump Robs, please do, because if you like crazy reality that's not reality but is reality kind of stories, that's the show for you, and that's the podcast to be listening about it.
You may not even be a reality TV person, whatever that means now in today's television world, but if you like comedy podcasts and overanalyzing, quote, reality TV, it'll be for you. But Bill, we're here to talk about a true reality, an ape reality. And I had a strong, I had a realization during the middle of this that we're going to have to talk about. But can you tell everyone what we're watching today?
Today we are watching the third film, the second sequel in the Planet of the Apes franchise. We watched 1971's Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Wow. Can you believe that we're already escaping the planet we once loved so much?
I don't want to escape, and that's something we're going to have to get into later, so I don't want to hit that too hard at the moment. But yeah, it is flying by rather quickly. But behind the kimono, everybody, this is kind of how it goes when you record one of these shows. It seems far away until you're into it. And then just like a good binge, I just want to watch all these movies real fast and talk to Robs about them.
Well, here's the thing. We better just get into it. Should I read the back of the box?
Please do.
I've pulled up this VHS. It's of the same variety of the previous VHS of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. So here we go. Two intelligent apes from the future, Cornelius and Zira, travel back in time to present-day Earth. At first, the talking creatures are a sensation, wined and dined as they get full celebrity treatment. But soon a dark element emerges when one man hatches a plot to do away with these super advanced apes as a desperate attempt to save mankind from the fate of someday being ruled by animals. Instead of giving speeches and being welcome among humans, Cornelius and Zira are running for their lives, the targets of a relentless search. A delightful blend of humor, social commentary, and suspense, this is hailed as being one of the best of all the films in this highly entertaining saga. Wow. Well, I just need to point out, Bill, that there were 3 apes that landed.
There were.
Not 2.
Yeah. Hashtag remember Milo.
Yes. Dr. Milo. He was a genius.
He was. He'd gone to doctor school. He clearly was a genius for the feats that he pulled off in this movie, which we will talk about shortly. So I weep for him and his early exit from this film.
I weep for him. You weep for him. We all weep for Dr. Milo. Bill, here's the thing. I really liked this film. I will give my rating because what did I like about this film? Was it its intense story? Was it the character design? Was it the evolution of the Apes story franchise? I don't know. Could it be all of the above? I think we're just hitting those sort of things where it's like, this is early 70s. We're continuing on. There's a little bit of silliness, but also they are in their zone. They're like, okay, we know we're making Planet of the Apes. Maybe the last movie was a little bit ham-fisted. To say the least.
That, to say the least, for sure, considering how that movie ended.
And finally, the tables have turned. We're getting the apes as the animals on the show, if you can believe it.
The hairy tables have been turned.
I assume you've seen this, 10 times in your life?
No, I have not seen it that many times. I've probably seen it. This might be the third, maybe only the second time I've seen this particular one. The later ones I didn't get to see much. I've seen them all at least once in syndication at some point. It had been a while. I remember the gist of the story. And I like this one too, Rob. I'm finding that I keep saying things like, it sounds like I'm being negative when I'm about to say something positive sometimes on this. But I really did like it, but I liked it for ape-related reasons in a way. There's something I want from these movies that, oddly enough, I'm not getting, but I don't mind because they're still fun, good movies. They're just coming out in a way that I'm not expecting, but having watched them again and now seeing these stories all the way through and seeing all the details again with fresh eyes, I can see what I would like to get out of this franchise and what they're actually putting on screen, which is two different things. And I understand why they're doing it. And we'll get into some of that when we talk a little bit about the history of this movie. So I will go out on the limb with my 8 paws and say, this is a fun watch. It was a really fun
You're going
watch.
Out on a vine.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not that app's defunct, isn't it? We can't use.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
It was the best social media app, and of course, the government got rid of
Absolutely.
it. Much like the government wants to get rid of some apes.
That's why he's the master of segues, everybody.
Well, should we get into evolutionary studies?
Let's crack some open and talk about what we found.
All right. Well, I mean, our audience knows these are the interesting things. Maybe they're shocking. Little bits of trivia that we'd like to share with our beloved audience and ape brethren. Here's the thing, Bill. The film's villain, Dr. Haslin, is that it?
Yes.
Haslin? Yeah.
Otto Haslin.
Haslin, that's right. I always second guess myself on these things. Had been briefly mentioned in the beginnings of both Planet of the Apes and Beneath the Planet of the Apes because of Dr. Haslin's theory of time. Now, that went right over my head when I was watching those two movies because why would I ever think about Dr. Haslin? But now Dr. Haslin's a character, which makes me think, are we in a Terminator situation? A Terminator 2?
I'm sorry, I was lost in the thought a minute of a Terminator ape being sent back in time. Although, would he have a yellow eye instead of a red eye? A nice banana yellow eye that's got to beam him out of there.
I am here for it.
I applaud whoever gets those kind of pulls. It's great when writers go back and pull from what's already there and build upon it. So I didn't put those two things together either until I looked into the research later on, which is not a bad thing because it's actually one of the fun things about digging into your favorite movie. So I don't know. I mean, actually, I think this movie's time travel is probably one of the best time travel logic stories I've ever seen. And I am not a big fan of the time travel logic stories, but I mean, they can be fine, but time travel, as James T. Kirk once said, gives me a bellyache. And so
turn into milk.
Something like that. But yeah, it's neat to see him in there. He's quite the, would you call him an evil scientist, Robs?
I don't know if I would. I don't even know if I want to say like misunderstood, you know, like he's definitely the bad guy of this film, but like most quality bad guys, you at least see where they're coming from. I think he's definitely got 1970s bad guy in him, which also comes with a bunch of other issues you could dissect. I mean, examine. Yeah, he's a 70s bad guy, but he's just trying to save the world, Bill.
Yeah, he gets there, and it's weird. I think he has like a little dash of Bond villain, and he's kind of suave. He's a good-looking dude. But
he's almost like the Captain American bad guy.
Yeah, and he just kind of gets this aura about him. The more he learns about these apes, he becomes a little unraveled at the idea of what they've got going on. So I get it. I get the actor, Eric Braeden, kind of felt that the character was a bit of a cartoonish type of thing, but I don't think he came off as cartoonish at all. He would float in and out of menacing for me, and I guess I kind of like that because you couldn't quite pin down where he was going to go next with what he wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's fair. What did you get? Give me one of your little snippets of trivia.
So what I think is neat is this movie is the only Apes sequel that was written with an open ending to allow for another movie. As we've talked about this in Beneath and even Planet of the Apes, they weren't written with sequels in mind. This is one of the most successful film franchises. It's a high mark for how you have a successful franchise. But every movie, except for this one, was almost like they're trying to kill it.
Yeah.
And I find that deeply amusing that we live in an era now where they can't hardly get a movie franchise to be good, trying to be. And this movie was, this whole franchise was good, trying to end it. So maybe every writer should learn the lesson from this and write that movie as if it's your last and then go from there.
Well, Bill, do me a favor real quick. And can you just kind of encapsulate what happens at the end of this film?
At the end of this film, we are given the open end that Cornelius and Zira have a child. And while we're led to believe that they're all exterminated, this child is actually alive at the end of the movie and begins to speak. So we're kind of pointed in the direction of this is the beginning of the actual intelligent ape evolution. And the movie fades out from there. We're not given the destroy the earth ending that we get in Beneath, which was like, well, you can't put more of a punctuation period on that particular sentence. But,
sorry, Chuck. We're going to keep making these movies.
Yeah. And I don't think he minded because they didn't call him after that.
Yeah. Bill, give me your next little factoid because I'd like to end on my thought here.
No problem. Speaking along the lines of those sequels, this movie got its go-ahead about 4 months after Beneath the Planet of the Apes came out. And this is the pattern that 20th Century Fox repeated was they made the movie and they put it out and they thought it was their last one and it turns out it's a success. And we all know that money talks.
Oh, yes.
So Arthur P. Jacobs, the producer of this movie, gave the go-ahead to writer Paul Dean in one of the greatest ways I've ever heard, just a straight up classic Hollywood style. He sent him a telegram and all the telegram said was, "Apes exist, sequel required."
God, can you imagine if that was a singing telegram?
Oh, man. Is it a singing gorilla in that outfit?
Oh, wow. Okay, we're going to need to sidebar that for we're tabling it for now. We're going to see if the fans can make us a little goofy video about that. I can't wait to keep going on with this. But, Bill, here's the thing. This is a little out there trivia here. Should we have watched this movie first if we're going chronologically? And then does this movie have to come out first in our sequential order? And here's the thing. If it does, I think that's okay as long as we are now talking about this in the episode.
That is a real head scratcher. And I want to say yes. And I also want to say no, because I got kind of the same feeling with this movie. It's the start of how this all begins. It's the start of the Apes world. But actually the next three movies bleed into that. So you'd almost have to go the next three movies and then go to Planet of the Apes and then Beneath and have your final ending. But the weird thing is, like I said before, for a time travel movie, which usually is just a bunch, but not a banana bunch, but a bunch of contradictions, when they tell their story and it makes a lot of no sense. This one's kind of a perfect circle. You can't really poke a hole in it because the protagonists die at the end, so they don't have to go back to a future they don't understand it, like Marty McFly. He doesn't really know why all that stuff happened. He didn't live through it. It's kind of a great circle, so you could do that, but I think we probably want to keep going the way we were because it really does help to know Cornelius and Zira from Planet of the Apes and have a lot of empathy for them when you watch this movie. I don't think it would play off as well if we knew their fate before we got an actual look at Ape World. And it would kind of take the real sting out of seeing what Charlton Heston sees when he comes over the hills and sees the apes and sees the humans. I think it might take some of the air out of it, and I wouldn't want to do that.
It doesn't quite compute to put this before the James Franco one.
No, I agree with you there. I don't think that would work out too well.
Okay, well, listeners, let us know what you think. Leave it in the comments. Bill, should we move on to our next segment?
I think we should. Let's swing on over to the segment we call Oohs and Ahs and talk about some of our amusing moments and things we liked about this movie.
Hey, I'll go first, Bill. Grape Juice Plus. One of my favorite tiers on the Patreon. I think that it's just silly. An intelligent ape surely could imagine what an alcoholic beverage would be, right? Yeah, sure, they don't have it in the future or whatever, but I could understand explaining it. And that just goes hand in hand with just the whole montage of them learning about 1970s human culture. It was great. Loved it. And
really, can you just imagine that, Rob, you're shot back in time and you're learning about the human race and your starting point is 1973, the year I was born. The 70s.
Wow.
The swinging, groovy 70s in their full-on power. Wow. What a time to land on Earth. So
the widest ties to ever exist. It's just a time to be alive.
You know, you couldn't even follow in anybody's footprints because the bell bottoms just wiped them away.
Exactly. Bill, what about you? What is something you found amusing about this?
So I laughed wholeheartedly when, of course, the apes are there and they've got their superstar set. I mean, and tell me, Rob, this is straight out of like modern day of like, you know, you hit it big as a pop singer or a movie star and you're on the scene. You're just in the public eye. They're whisking you to hotels and everybody's fawning over you. They want to be your friend. So they put Cornelius and Zira up at the hotel in Hollywood and they throw them a swinging 70s party. It is amazing. There are people with cigars and clearly businessmen doing business and beautiful ladies doing beautiful lady things. And there's just all this stuff going on. And it's a wild Austin Powers-like scene and everybody's dressed great. And then out of nowhere, I spy in the room, there is a day-glow, what looks like it's made out of Lincoln logs, teeter-totter in the middle of this floor that grown adults are riding up and down on. What in the hell is that about? What is happening with that?
I have no idea. And part of me, Bill, was like, is this just something I'm not going to understand as someone 10 years younger? Like, is this, I don't know, but it also feels like maybe this piece of jungle gym equipment
exactly
was just invented or something for like in-house use. And they were, I don't know, they're trying to throw this parallel between apes and humans and yada yada, but it's still hard to believe that people would bring this into a swinging shagadelic party while they're listening to Burt Bacharach.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they meant to do it, but if they were trying to draw a parallel between, you know, no matter how nice a cage is, it's still a cage. That we put the apes in a cage at the beginning of the movie with their stuff, and now they're in what essentially is a version of what we might call the human fame cage. And so you see two people on a piece of jungle gym equipment, like you might see two gorillas or two apes at the zoo, you know, something to play on, except it's people. So it was a great parallel and kind of a thing to mess with my mind, but also it was just a wild, insane visual. So I'm going to believe that there was more going on than Grape Juice Plus at this party.
You don't say. One other thing that I liked is just the debates in the courtrooms and such in this. They were fairly compelling, but then when you like think about it for 2 seconds, you're like, no one would be this public about this. There would be no judge, jury, anything. There would be no trial. This would be swept under like secrecy, CIA coming in and all that so quick. Like the idea that aliens land on the planet, because that's what's happening here, and that they are just paraded around town like welcomed guests and no one wants to do them any harm. No way.
No, it's wild. When I see this again, I'm like, no, this is not how this works. The government is going to clamp down on this. But everybody's first thought from the president on down is we got to be upfront. We got to tell everybody everything. We got to put them out there and we got to not scare the people and we got to be nice to them. And I'm looking at this going, that's not how it would work, but it's kind of how you wish it would, because it really takes the sting out of all the, misunderstanding. And somebody starts flinging bullets around and like that. And I'm with you. The debates with the scientific council, which mirror the orangutans in the first movie, because clearly these scientists are some of the worst scientists, that they just are looking at a talking ape going, nah.
And there's like a priest up there too, right?
That was a nice element. He's pretty outraged pretty quickly when they mention that they're married and God created the apes in his own image. But also you get John Randolph as the chairman, who is Chevy Chase's dad in Christmas Vacation, who looks a day older in this movie than he did in that movie.
Not at all.
So watching him do his bit was fun. But yeah, those debates are really something to watch.
Man, well, what's your other, liked moment here in your ooh or your ah?
Yeah, I gravitate back to the hotel set. I must be fascinated with those hotels. I was scouring the scene to see the stuff that was in it and what was going on. And plus, Cornelius is in a smoking suit. It looks like he's in his pajamas and everything. And he goes in the bathroom and Zira's taking a bubble bath. And all you can see is her head sticking out of these bubbles. Now, remember, this is a human-sized chimpanzee taking a bath. And my only thought was, I'm so sorry for the housekeeper that has to come in and clear the hair out of that tub, man. That's not a good plan to put a giant chimpanzee in a tub of hot water. I'm like, whoa, good Lord.
No, thank you.
But it made me laugh.
Well, Bill, I've got a chimp for this episode.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. Armando! Ricardo Montalban shows up for about 5 minutes of this movie right at the end. And I was just like, I was putting together a desk while I was watching it, and I heard that voice, and I was like, wait a second. And then I stopped everything I was doing and watched the rest of this film directly, and it was great. I have now seen Ricardo in multiple things, but the three things that stick out to me are Wrath of Khan, this movie, and an episode of Columbo where he plays a bullfighter.
Oh, so good. A Matter of Honor.
Yes. It was great.
Is he not amazing? The minute he comes onto screen,
like he could care less about these being alien apes, whatever. I am here to help the animals.
And without even trying, he just immediately becomes the coolest person in the room.
Oh, yeah. You're
like, of course, Armando. Take me away with your weird circus to Florida and let me live with you down there. I want to go because you look like you're just cool as hell to hang out with. So, yeah, he's a great call.
Oh, man. Well, who's your chimp?
So, he won't come off as a perfect person towards the very end, but my chimp is the President of the United States, played by William Wyndham, Commodore Matt Decker from Star Trek original series, The Doomsday Machine. I've seen William Wyndham in a ton of stuff, but when you first see him come on screen, we are so used to the president and the politician that's just like, screw them all, we got to kill everything, clamp down on this. That's just
healthcare.
Yeah, either they're that way or they're doing it out of security for the sake of the nation because they don't want to take any chances and things. And it just turns them into like kind of instantly unlikable. And you don't even want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But Wyndham plays his president. He is all about treating these apes properly, giving them their moment to tell them what's going on. He's holding in Haslam from when he starts to spiral a bit. I mean, he is generally a champion for these apes and their inalienable human rights, as a particular podcast is fond of mentioning. And he's just great. He's the politician that we kind of want when you look at it. And I was so happy to see him do this. It's like, this is a really great change than just the government going, nah, screw it, put him in a hole, sink him, do whatever you got to do. He plays it upright. Now he does politic a little bit with Haslam about, voters and what's popular and they're popular, but more than not, he's shooting straight with everybody. And when he has to make a call that he doesn't really want to at the end, he's sad about it. So he is my chimp for being a gleaming good politician in what could have easily been a bad caricature one.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I'm glad you could find the shining light in that president. But, Bill, we do have to figure out what's been driving us bananas. I know it's hard to believe.
Seriously.
But there might have been things that we did not like about this film, and I'd love for you to go first if you have anything.
Yeah, I do have a few things. There are a few, and by few, I mean several story points in this thing that kind of clash together. There are some conflicts with the first movie and the other movies about things. And one of the big ones is Cornelius at one point gives the history to people in the room about what happened to the humans, what happened to the apes. How did we get to the planet of the apes that Heston landed on? The only problem is none of that was in the first movie. None of it is in there. That's more stuff from the book that they didn't use because at the end of Planet of the Apes, they're excavating places in the Forbidden Zone. You know, Zaius is denying that humans were ever evolved. They don't know how anything happened before the apes were uprising. They just don't mention any of it. And he rattles off this very intricate, very detailed history of what, when, where, and how. And it just jumped out because it was so detailed. And I'm like, I know they didn't do this. So it's a great explanation in a lot of ways. It really sets up the next two movies in a great way, but it doesn't really match up with the first movie. And that happens a lot in Hollywood. This is kind of a big one. These movies aren't that complicated. So I wish they had tweaked that some and either, you know, there was a line in there about how, you know, that's not what the scrolls say. And it's like, well, we don't always say exactly what the scrolls say, or something to just kind of make it a little easier to wash down that story with, because he tells it great. Roddy McDowall is wonderful. And I'm so happy he's back in this movie because the previous actor was good, but you can tell under that mask, it's not him. So
totally. It is weird. Even if they do like some hand waving of like, well, but I'm an archaeologist, or I have studied these things. And it's like, well, a little bit of info in the previous movies would have been nice to correlate with what you're saying here, you know? I think that what I want to go with is like the story kind of just jumps dramatically, and then it has a bit of like a stretched out ending that doesn't feel at pace with other parts of the movies or of the movie. And I don't know, I kind of wish they would have workshopped the script a little bit further. And I know that's a lot to ask for in a movie about intelligent apes traveling back in time to 1970s Earth. But it is like I said before, out of nowhere, we're at a zoo with Ricardo Montalban. And they're like, the baby is a plot for most of it, but like also she gives birth. And then we still travel with that for a while. And then it's like, we've got the shootout at the old factory. And it felt like end heavy, you know, for all of the fun, like montagey, we're wearing suits and ties and going to boxing matches together. It just, I don't know, it just felt lopsided in a weird way. And it really can stick out like a sore opposable thumb.
Oh, that's genius. And I totally agree. The movie does kind of in the middle take a tone shift that you can't miss it. It's just a bit of a setup, half of a farce in a way. It's a little farcical, even though there's serious undertones. And then it's a full-on episode of The Fugitive almost with, you know, everything but the one-armed man. So I'm totally with you on that one. It's a hard shift. I don't know. It seems like they just had somebody there going, you know, pick up the pace, pick up the pace, pick up the pace, because it does follow through at the end on Apes tradition, and it starts out kind of interesting and funny, but it don't end that way.
Not at all. What else do you got for us that if there's anything else that you didn't like? Yeah,
the other thing that kind of got me, and it plays a little bit off what I said before, but the idea of how this movie came to be. Like, I get why they did it, that the story they came up with got them to where they needed to be, but we're supposed to believe that these apes who did not understand a paper airplane when Taylor threw it in their house, or why man would want to fly, or why anybody would want to fly. They went out into the water, pulled his old spaceship out, got it fixed, figured out how to fly it, made fuel, made spacesuits, got into space, and traveled through time. No movie.
No.
All in the space of what we are led to believe is kind of the same day that Beneath the Planet of the Apes happens. So they did this in half of a day, or maybe.
And that's pretty generous.
Yeah. Now say that they went immediately out and pulled the ship out of the water. There weren't that many people working on this. So the way they get them back to Earth is just a bit ludicrous in my view. It's hard to swallow. I almost wish, they had just said that there was an explosion and we don't know how we got here.
Yeah. We took shelter in a spacecraft and hit a big red button.
Yeah. But you know what? They got that damn model to float this time. So I bet they're like, we're using it. The Icarus never looked more seaworthy.
And on that note, I kind of wish we would have gotten an opening to this movie of them on the spaceship. And what if Zira was doing a monologue while smoking a cigar like Charlton Heston was in the first one?
Yeah.
And apparently they did film a scene of them in the spacecraft watching Earth get destroyed. But I don't care as much about that as I would just giving us some sort of homage to Planet of the Apes 68,
I can see your point. That would have been a nice, big opening moment, too, to really get in there.
They could have even talked to Dr. Miro about what he knows, any sort of information hey, yeah, I got this spaceship to work. And then he could have died in Cairo sleep, the other astronaut died. And then it wouldn't have been as weird with the gorilla killing him. Anyway, that's perfect. My dirty ape, Bill, is the gorilla that killed Dr. Milo. I said Miro earlier. I meant Milo.
You did. But, you've course corrected, much like the Icarus.
Yes. And because, I'm sorry, ape does not kill ape. And this gorilla, it could have been anything. A snake could have slithered in there, but maybe they're trying to be see, this gorilla, it's not a smart one. It'll kill Milo.
I wish it so much that they had listened to you, Rob, because ape shall not kill ape, but ape suit is on the table. And
ape suit.
Man, that gorilla suit is bad. It is so very bad. There is nothing more jarring than something like this when you put a fake animal next to. Well, they're not real because they're not the chimpanzees in the movie. But you put a fake gorilla suit in a cage. It ain't nothing but a dude in a gorilla suit. So he is a dirty ape. And he did not get his stinking paws off of him in time.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No. So I think this is one of my patented Apes franchise moments where it sounds like I'm going to be bad, but I don't mean it this way. My dirty ape is Dr. Zira.
Whoa.
For the reason being, Zira just will not play along at any moment, at any time. When she needs to kind of lay back in the cut because they need to buy their time and check stuff out, which is what they'd kind of agreed on. We're not going to talk. We're going to let the humans talk. We're going to play low. We're going to figure out what's going on before we pop off and say howdy. And Zira just doesn't have it. And she didn't have this in the earlier movies. She won't be calm. She won't hold back till the moment's a little better. She's just got to spout at any moment what's coming into her head. And it's not that she's wrong. And she says she doesn't like to lie. She doesn't like to hide things. She thinks everything should be out in the open. But, there are times in an extreme situation. And I think being catapulted back in time to when you're in the cage and the humans are out or one of them, she needs to rein it in. And she just won't. And a lot of the things that happen, which is what gets us this movie, so in that sense it's not bad, happen because she just will not keep it under control for a few minutes until the moment passes. And you kind of can't mess with that. That's just not good. Plus, she filled that tub up with hair. That's just so bad. But I love her. She's great, but she needs to enhance her calm once in a while.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that, she is very trusting of human scientists at the very beginning. I like you. It's you got so much more to learn. He does end up being a pretty good, decent human, but
yeah, chill
out. You've been here for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And, she says, we love Taylor. I'm like, I don't think you did. I get why you would say that, but yeah.
You always eulogize the dead, right?
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bill, it's time to take care of business. Monkey business, that is.
I love this segment.
I do too. We got to give our final thoughts. We've got to rate it. Is it a packed house or a madhouse? Do you mind if I go first?
I do not. I enjoy hearing you talk about things, so let me have it, Robs.
So first off, I want to say that, like, I kind of really dig the intro to this movie, the opening credits, everything involved. Like, I know I said I wished it kind of would have had that scene, but without that scene of them in space and just how we're introduced to these apes is great. I think when you get the title card or you get the actor's name next to the character, we're like finally making a movie, right? We are making a silly film, but we're doing it competently. And it's interesting because, like, you know, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, competent films, sure, but they're not like as Hollywood as you think they are. This one, like, actually introduces you with like a bit of a surprise. Like I said, the names are next to the actors. It's like there's this next level. It's not as maybe as good a film as Planet of the Apes, let's say, but it's still a next level and a better in terms of making a movie done. And it's from the beginning when you get that. It's a fun adventure. It does a great job of creating a new spin on an old classic. But like I said, it's a bit slow at times. It's got some weird cuts, some weird jumps in story, some weird rationalizing and explaining previous things. I just wish there was a little bit more thought into how the whole movie played out. And the ending a bit over the top. And that's saying something coming from Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yes.
You know? It's not quite that dramatic, but it is silly in how serious it's taking itself. But like you said, it's setting itself up finally for another one. But also, it's a movie about smart apes traveling back in time to 1970s Earth. So I cut a little bit of slack, and it is a packed house, this film. How about you?
I think I'm right there with you once again, Rob. I think this is a packed house because it was a packed house. It's a good movie. It's a fun movie. I don't regret for a second watching it. There is nothing wrong with firing this thing up and having a good watch and a lot of fun. Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter make this movie. They are so great in their roles. You want to follow them through. They make you love them in a way, even failings and all. The only thing about it is I'm finding myself conflicted a little bit because this movie's called Escape from the Planet of the Apes, but it's not really what it is. The escape happens off screen in a way. We see them land on Earth, so this is really kind of learning to live on the planet of the humans. And
may I make a statement?
Sure.
Is their death the escape from the ape-like humanity that took their lives away?
I think so. I think that's the escape at the end, even though it's not one you really want if you have to die to get out of it. But, and when you take a science fiction franchise and you put it in the present day, like all of them have done this, you know, Star Trek's famous for it, but we saw the apes future and now we're in what would have been our modern day. It kind of hits a little weird for me. So I like this movie for what it is, but it makes me yearn for the movie I did kind of want, which was, you know, seeing more of the apes in their ape world. We see Planet of the Apes, and this is a budget thing. You can only do so much with what you've got. We don't see a lot of the planet. Beneath, you mentioned that it takes a long time to get beneath the Planet of the Apes in that movie. So it would have been more to see, you know, what it would have taken to pull off the caper that got them, the spaceship that got them to escape, which I think would have been another movie that way. But all that being said, it's fun. It tells a really great story. If you haven't watched the other Apes movies, you're fine. You could start with this one, as we mentioned, and go right on. So that's a testament to this movie and how it is written. You could watch it in a circle. But the funny thing is, it pulls me back to the fact that this movie, even though I think it is so far the third best of the three classic movies we've seen, it's still better than the three prequels that we watched in a lot of ways. So it makes me wish that when I say I'd want to see more of the planet, more of the thing, more of the escape, more of this going on. That's what I wish the newer movies had done. They could have given us that without rehashing and redoing a lot of stuff in a weird, drawn-out way. But this movie's great. It's got its symbolism doesn't smack you over the head in a lot of places. A couple of times it does. But overall, it's great. The ending is super dark in a way that will catch you by surprise. I'm always amazed that they marketed these movies like toys for kids, and then you watch it, it's like, oh yeah, this is the same people that made RoboCop toys. So, I get where you're going. So, this movie is definitely a packed house. I do highly recommend it. It is a great watch. Just be prepared for some wild shenanigans at the end.
Totally. Well, Bill, another adventure in the books. Very, very exciting. What do we got next? Is next week Conquest of the Planet of the Apes?
It is indeed Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and I think we're going to see quite a bit more apey action than we've seen in the last couple of movies. So
how do we conquest and then we battle?
And then we battle.
And then we potentially Burton the Planet of the Apes?
I'd say it's a fairly good chance that we are going to put a lot of product in our hair, shoot it in all directions, and Tim Burton the hell out of this franchise when it comes to it. Marky Mark in space. What more inspiration do you need?
I don't know. Well, I just want to say thanks to everyone who has joined our Patreon, is supporting us. Please tell a friend. Have them join in on our Grape Juice Plus segment, and you can help keep the lights on here at the pod. Bill, if people want to ask us questions, they can leave comments. They can send us a direct message on social media or within the messaging service on Patreon. I just want to say thanks to, as always, Mrs. Colombo for listening, Jothan for our show art, Rob Adler, who's been doing freaking amazing work in the editing room. Of course, Draxium and Dr. Z for that rockin' theme song we always get. Bill, and thank you. This has been great.
Well, thank you, Rob. I never want to escape from the plan of the podcast as long as you're there. And I think it's great that we have a Dr. Z contributing to us when we're doing these shows. But please, everybody, do what we say all the time. We don't have fans, we have friends. So share the show, put it out there. Rob and I want to do this for a long time, and we want to do so much more. It is so much fun for us. And I have a personal request. If anybody out there listens to the show, wants to contact us, let us know what you're watching. Let us know what you like. What crazy movies far out for whatever reason. We're going to delve into some weirder stuff here. It comes after this. It doesn't have to be mainstream, or it can be just a forgotten thing, a fun thing. We want to hear yours as much as we like talking about ours. So, and you never know, you may give us some inspiration for down the line. So just communicate as much as you can. It helps us, and it's fun for everybody.
And send a self-addressed stamped envelope full of a weird DVD. We'll rip it. We'll mail it right back to you, and we'll watch what you want us to watch.
Absolutely. That would be amazing. There are some gems out there that are quite hard to find on eBay in your local library that I would love to get my hands on.
Yes. Well, Bill, until next time, this has been Bill and Rob's An Excellent Adventure, and I will see you next time. I said next time twice, but everyone gets it. We're at the end and tired.
You're in the time loop, Rob. There's no perfect way out.